There are leaders who build companies, and then there are leaders who build cultures. The kind who don't just scale businesses but scale people, their clarity, their ambition, their sense of purpose. I've always been fascinated by those who manage to do both because that takes more than strategy. It takes instinct, empathy, and a certain generosity of spirit that you just can't fake. And before I even knew today's guest professionally, I experienced that generosity myself. I still remember the day I put myself out there on one of the NYU WhatsApp groups, just a simple message, nothing dramatic. And he was the very first person who replied saying, "Let's connect." No hesitation, no overthinking, just genuine willingness to help. And when I later walked into his office, that same energy showed up everywhere in the warmth he had for his team, the respect they had for him, and the calm, grounded culture he had built. You don't manufacture that. That's who the person is. And that's exactly why his journey stands out. For the last 20 years, he's been shaping organizations across India and the US, starting his first venture at 19 while still studying at NYU Stern. He has co founded and scaled companies across performance management, digital transformation, and workforce solutions, all rooted in one belief: performance should feel like progress and not pressure. He's a strategic and participative leader, the rare kind who merges clarity with compassion and ambition with a deep understanding of people. And outside the boardroom, he finds his best ideas in the wild, traveling, observing nature, slowing the pace, so he can return sharper, clearer, and more aligned. Please welcome co founder and CEO of Get GOP, Gaurav Sabharwal. Gaurav, I'm so excited.
Thank you so much. That's a lengthy introduction, Ekta, and a very generous one. So thank you.
I wanted to pack every part of your personality so people have an idea of who we're talking to so they get really excited.
Great, great. Looking forward to this. Thank you so much for your time and this opportunity.
All right, let's get started. You started your first venture at 19 while still studying finance at NYU Stern. Take me back. What did 19-year-old Gaurav was thinking when he was building?
Yeah, in my first venture, I started in 24. The
Okay.
first 5 years was in the family business, and the family business has been going on since 1982. My father started it, and that has been into manufacturing and export of women apparel. So I took care of the sales office in New York, and I was helping and supporting that, and that grew, quite a bit when I was a part of that. Gave me a lot of confidence on the business side of it all. And, then 2008 is when I moved back from New York to India or Delhi, where my hometown is. I grew up here. And that is when I got into tech and first startup in the tech space at the age of 24 is what I was at that point of time. I'm 43 now. So it's been 19 years, yes, in the tech world. And since then, we've done a few things, whether it's services, products, solutions. So multiple things over the last, let's say, 2 decades or so.
Great. And since we're peeling the layers right now, tell me, was entrepreneurship always a calling or an accident or just like a fearless, let's see what happens kind of a moment?
So I think growing up in a business family, it just kind of stays with you throughout your journey,
Yeah.
right? And whether we are taking holidays or having our dinners with the family, extended family, end up having conversations around business. And entrepreneurs today were businessmen in the earlier decades, right? I mean, there is
Yeah.
not much of a difference. Yeah, it's more structured and more, more scalable now, but that's another part of it. So I was very sure that I didn't want to be in the corporate world. And when I started working with the business family at the age of 19, that early years gave me another sense of validation that, yes, this is where I want to be and I want to build. And then, I think I've always been a people person first. And I think that is very important for you to build anything with anyone. You don't build things in isolation. You could if you're a genius. Unfortunately, I'm not. So, I know my strengths, and my strength is to put down a team, a high performing team that can scale and work together very well.
Great.
So all my businesses that I've been doing or my entrepreneurial journeys that I've been part of, they have been with co-founders and we built things together. And yes, some of them have worked, some of them have not. And whatever has not, we've closed them down. But we're still friends, and there is
Animosity.
no ill feeling of any kind. And we keep on helping each other in whatever space of or phase of life we are in.
Perfect. Talking about businesses, you've built four successful businesses across different industries. What's the thread that ties them all together?
Yeah, I think tech, I love tech businesses for a few reasons. Scalability, geography, you're not like consigned to one geography, and you can really scale them to different. It is people led. So if you can build a team, I understand the spaces like how you need to have a GTM, a product or a service, customer success. What all aspects of business you need to put together to make it a successful, let's say, services or a product business per se. So that has helped. Yeah, so I think I like those businesses, and then of course there is always disruption with tech as well. So you need to be changing, you need to be
Yeah.
understanding that things cannot be constant, and things will change as we progress, and that's fine. I'm very comfortable with the change. So I think that's been the common thread of it all, if I may add to that.
So I've heard your inclination towards tech and why you picked up. With what vision you had in mind? Tell me from family business to tech in 2008, right? What was the
Sure.
biggest mindset shift you had to make? Because you're making a transition, right? Actually.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, see, sometimes it's forced transition as well, right?
Hmm.
So very candidly, everything was great going, and things were well, but then 2008 is when the whole financial debacle happened in the
Yeah.
US, right? So we were a part of that, and the business suffered due to that. And we were three men in the family, so me, my
Mhm.
brother, and my father, who were doing what we were doing at that point of time. And that
Hmm.
is when I realized that it's not the best thing to do, where everyone in the family is kind of glued to one business, because then
Yeah.
you don't have a plan B if
Yeah.
things go south. And things can go south, or things can change overnight in business any given point of time, with macros or micros, doesn't matter, right? So
Yeah.
I think that was the reason I was very sure that I wanted to venture out and do something. And then again, sometimes it's the luck. And I that time I met my co-founder Vibhu Satpal, who's built Saffron Tech with me and other businesses too. And we had very complementary skills. He comes from an engineering background. He's a computer science graduate. I'm a finance graduate, so I come from a business background mostly. So we
Mhm.
had complementary skills, and we work well together. So one thing led to another, and this is where we are today.
Great. Um, Tell us, everyone sees scale, but no one sees the scars. What were the challenges that shaped you back then? And what are certain things that you still have in mind when you're thinking of entrepreneurship?
I mean, there are always going to be challenges, and challenges differ from one stage to another, right? Um, at that point, when we were starting out, we had no experience. We didn't know. I didn't come from tech background, so the challenges were very different. Today, what we are doing, challenges are different because we are trying to scale and also trying to see where the next opportunity is. The AI is going to disrupt services. AI is going to disrupt a lot of things in tech. So we are also figuring out that what are the opportunities, hidden opportunities in this, that we can make the most of it and ride the wave. So yeah, I think the only way we tackle, at least I tackle challenge, is not to get obsessed about what is it gonna impact the business or the people involved in it, but is to actually objectively think that where the challenge is, what the challenge is it the market, is it the macros, is it the technology, is it the profitability, is it the demand, is it the competition? Break it down into smaller pieces and then pick the piece which is more important than urgent, because we tend to also pick things which are urgent, not picking things which are important. But
Hmm.
in strategy and business, at least, the important things are going to kill you. Urgent things won't.
Yeah.
So pick the important things, tackle them first, prioritize them, and then have the smaller things which can add more value to the business, and then build a momentum with the teams with it. So
Hmm.
one cannot do things in isolation, and no matter how great the strategy is, it's just a piece of paper unless executed, right? So
Very
create
nicely said.
so create a team which can execute well, we can work collaboratively well, which has complementary skills, respect each other, and then execute things step by step. Look at where the gaps are, fill those gaps up, and be very outcome driven. So, those are the few things. I mean, no rocket science, but be persistent and be consistent.
Great. I mean, I think people who are going to listen, they're getting each and everything of your entrepreneurial journey, and this is so, so good. I'm going to touch on the next segment, which is about leadership style of yours. You've been described as a strategic and participative leader. Tell us, how does your day to day look like?
Yeah, I mean, I look at year, then
Hmm.
quarters, then month, and then weeks, and then days, right? I
Okay.
don't look at days and then go beyond.
Okay,
So,
great.
so when I have a complete clarity on what my year is going to look like,
Hmm.
that helps me to build my quarters up. That
Okay.
helps to build my month up, prioritization of what needs to be done in what months or quarter. That helps me to build my week, and that helps me to build my days. I'm quite structured and planned when it comes to utilizing my time. I'm very careful with my where my time goes. And majority of my time today is spent with teams to really understand what their challenges are, or if they have a bottleneck or something which is not really helping them to grow. So it's mostly with the people and the teams today than anything else. I'm also, it's in me to keep on figuring out opportunities. So while I'm inside out, I'm also very outside in. So also looking at where the opportunities are in the business, and where can we take the piece of the pie and can, build those capabilities in our business to go deeper into the same market or horizontally broad with other markets. So that's where it goes, and then one strategize and executing on, and seeing where the gaps are and filling those. So that I think that's where majority of the days or weeks go.
This is going really well. All right, that brings me to the next question. You talk a lot about empathy and accountability. How do you balance both without leaning too soft or too strict?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done.
Hmm.
Even I, at times, get maybe to one extreme to the other, right? And it's more on accountability to than empathy for majority part of the time. But one needs to realize that if we don't build an accountable culture, then it's very hard to be successful or scale, right? Because every time there is pressure or every time things go wrong, then it's very difficult to get to the bottom of it, of who is accountable, where the accountability lied,
Yeah.
and where was the problem, to solve it objectively, solve it and move on. I don't believe in punching the people, but punching the problem, right? And very easily we can get to punching the people and forget the problem, but
Yeah.
that's not going to help anyone. So that's pure accountability for me. However, being empathetic while being accountable is also extremely important, because you are dealing with humans, you are dealing with emotions. Some people more experienced than the others, some people more hard on emotions than the others. So if you don't have the empathy while you're dealing with accountability, sometimes leaders can be rough, and that just kills the momentum, and just kills the energy in the room or the business, right? And that
Hmm.
does not help anyone. So I think
Yeah.
if you're able to create that balance, it is utmost important and good, but it's harder said than done, and I struggle with it. But just knowing that it's important helps me to go back and realize if it is not being there, so to get the balance back again.
Perfectly said. I'm also going to bring your attention to one of the points on culture. So, I want to know what is the one thing companies consistently get wrong about culture? What are your thoughts on it?
So let me ask you, Ekta, what according to you is culture? I mean, I don't want to question you, but just want to hear your thoughts on it.
I feel like when you walk in and when you speak around with people, just the warmth that you get, and it's easier to see if people are comfortable and they're feeling like they're in their own skin and they don't have to project and show a self which is very different from them. And you can see in happy organization that to me is the culture which you gauge the comfort and the ease from people around.
Great. I mean, very well said. There is not one right answer to it. According to me, culture is nothing but set of disciplines that you're able to create in the organizations, which are more organically created than forced to, right? So I'll give you an example, right? So when you look at the armed forces, they don't get built on motivation. They get
Yeah.
built on discipline, right? And that what creates the culture of discipline in them.
Hmm.
So if they have to wake up every 5 a.m. in the morning and go and do their exercise or do their runs or whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's cold, raining, the
Yeah.
weather, or how are the environmental conditions on how am I feeling about it. If it's done, it has to be done. It has to be done, right? So for that, I learn from that and try to bring in that in my business as well. At every level in the organization, if you're able to create that way of discipline, and everybody kind of understand that that's extremely important if they want to create a habit of winning. I always say that I am in the business not for the journey of it, but to win. The journey of it is important, but it's going to be extremely hard of a journey no matter how much we work if we don't win, right? So for
Yeah.
us to create that winning habit, we need to have the discipline. And for us to create that discipline, we need to make it as a part of our culture. So for me, culture is discipline, and that's how I look at it.
All right, great. All right. Shifting to another segment, which is called humanizing performance. You've had this quote, which is performance is not pressure, it's progress. What does that mean in practice? And I think this is also picking from the last comment that you made that people have to be focused on winning. We are doing the journey, which is going to happen, obviously, but unless the needle is towards winning, you're losing track. So, with regard to that, tell me what do you really mean in practice when you say performance is not pressure, but it's progress?
See, I mean, pressure is going to be there, right? But pressure becomes fun or joy when progress happens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people just tumble in that pressure and nothing really gets achieved.
Hmm.
So now, how do we make it more joyful? I mean, we at Job or Joy of Performing, one of the organizations that I'm a part of and I head today, is all about that, right? And it for me, it's all gets to those again the basics of it. That do you have that transparency in the organization where everybody know that what is the North Star? What is it that one has to achieve? And how are they making progress in order to achieve that North Star as well? I can be working extremely hard in the organization, But if I don't know whether my work is really helping my organization to achieve its goals or not, then I'm kind of lost, right? But
Yeah.
if I know that everything that I'm doing or my team is doing is helping me to get to that North Star, and when we do get to that North Star together, we all win, it just creates an element of joy, right? So I think that's one side of it. The second side of it is that do we have the way to cross collaborate and help each other through that journey, right? And as team grows, as team progresses into various different geographies or various different work types or business units, the cross collaboration is needed a lot more, right? And that extreme is easier said than done, because my work gets impacted if Ekta, you are not giving me what I need from you, and it's
Yeah.
very difficult for me to pinpoint what do I need, when, and how much, right? So
Hmm.
creating those kind of frameworks is extremely important, and that's what I think brings joy or creates progress and not pressure.
Great. Remember, we touched upon empathy like a second back. In that respect, do you think the future of work will demand more empathy or more structure?
Um, See, it's very difficult to say what the future of work is going to demand. I think, Ekta, what you're asking is that how important empathy as a skill is, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that there are two sides of it. One side is in the future of work, many businesses are going to be solopreneurs because now they have agents, they have AI that can do a lot for them, right? And they can create a scalable business just by that skill. So for that particular business type, empathy is not the most important skill to have, right?
Yeah.
So for the others, where people are still going to be the most of the mix and scaling businesses because of the people, their empathy is going to be extremely important. So it also gets down to I know myself, you know yourself, and you know your strengths, I know mine, right? So if I know that I am a people person, then I go towards more on the business scale side of it. But if I know that I like to work myself, I don't care about people so much, and that's fine, then I'll go about the solopreneurship, with where empathy may not be the most important thing.
Hmm, very well said. I am loving this episode and the detailing you're getting into. I mean, you break it down into such clear concepts, so much more easier for people to make sense. Touching on the next topic, you know how we need data to make analysis and then come to conclusions. So the question is for you, where does data and intuition meet? How do you strike a balance between the two?
Funnily, I was having a conversation just maybe a couple of days back with someone about this, right? And
Okay.
they said that they make majority of their decision with intuition,
Okay.
and I was saying that majority of my decisions are actually data driven. Now I don't know which one is more better than the other, but in my view I think intuition is fantastic, and it's something which is gained by experience, is gained by what you have done, what you have built over the period of time, what kind of work you guys have done with different teams or different businesses that you own or different skill set that you have. And it's very difficult to objectify it, I don't know if I have to rate my intuition, it's going to be extremely hard for me to do that. And it will depend on what my circumstance are, how much of a pressure there is for me to take that decision at that point of time, and how clearly can I think in that pressure environment. Because intuition can also change with certain external factors, right? Now, with data, that's not the case. I can rely on data if I can understand, if I know how to collect data, understand data, do the analysis of it, and come out with a solution. Then, no matter what the external circumstances are, probability of me going wrong are less with
Yeah.
data driven. So that's the only thing. Otherwise, I don't think intuition is not important. It's extremely important. But if you can back it up with data, That's I think that's a better thing to do in business at least.
So the question I'm asking now is not on the list of the questions that I had prepared, but it's just a follow up to what you just said. For somebody like me, I'm just getting started. So for me to say at the moment that I'm more data driven or
Right.
intuition driven,
Right.
I think it's going to be hard to say, right? Because I'm just getting started. So for me, if I want to take a decision, where should I strike a balance? What do you suggest?
No, at this point, I think majority of it can be intuition
Hmm.
because you don't have too much at stake.
Yeah.
You're getting started. You can take more risk than maybe at a given point in future, and time is more important than getting it absolutely right. Even if you
Hmm.
make a mistake, it's not going to cost you so much, and you can come out of it and then get on to another thing. So I
Yeah.
think very well said. It's also very timely. But if you also had maybe thousands of people at stake for the decision that you take,
Yeah.
then you may not be taking a lot of decision by intuition, but also backing by data.
Well, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Alrighty, touching the next segment, which is about the human behind you. Um, you spend a lot of time in nature, watching wildlife, and exploring new places. What is it about silence and observation that inspires you the most?
Actually, is about spending quality time with my loved ones. So do what I do. I do spend a lot of time at work, and it's hard to create that balance when you are an entrepreneur, and tend to take a lot of time away from your personal life. So it's just for me, it's a way to disconnect, go in the wild, spend time with my wife, my kids. I've got two boys, 11 and 9, and I love to spend time with them. So that's when I get the time when I travel. My phone is not ringing. I'm not worried about my calendar. I'm not worried about meetings which are have to be done or need to be done. So I think that's just one way of me to disconnect. And also, what's better than going in the nature?
Yeah.
We all live a very fast-paced life in the cities that we are in. So when we go in the nature, we kind of slow down and we are able to connect with the roots. So for me, that's very peaceful. So I enjoy that.
Perfect. On that note, do you remember a moment when maybe on a long drive or a walk where something clicked for you just as a leader because you were unwinding and you were so peaceful within?
Absolutely. I think whenever I come back from my travel, I have a list of things to be done. Just because and that's what happens, right? When you are disconnected or you are away from the book a little, you
Yeah.
tend to think clearer and know strategize better. So absolutely agree with you 100%.
I mean, you're a seasoned entrepreneur and you're giving me these ideas. For me, just a very simple thing. I go for a morning run and sometimes I get those cues on who could be the next guest or just how can I tweak it or anything on the content. So I think just taking yourself off, it gives you that breathing space where you can think and then figure out more ideas. So it definitely helps that air come in.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Tell us, is there a part of your personality people misunderstand because they only see the CEO?
No, I think I'm quite upfront in the way I think and the way I act. So you get what you see and you see what you get. So I don't think that there is any challenge that I face there. Yeah, sometimes when I'm too passionate, I tend to get a little more aggressive than I would want to, and that doesn't go extremely well with the team sometimes. But I have no ego. So if I know I've crossed the line, or if I know that I've said something which is not appropriate, I'm the first one to apologize and mend my ways and move on. So I have
Yeah.
no problems there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's justifiable because you're front handling, and so there are going to be pressures, and sometimes it just comes out. But having that kind of a supportive team and the kind of culture that you've created, that really helps build it smoothly and then gets on organically. We've come towards the last segment, which is a power round. So I'm going to need like a one word or probably like a sentence. to each and everything that I'm going to ask you. Are you
Sure.
ready?
Yeah.
All right, we start. First, one leadership myth you want to delete from the world.
I think urgency.
Okay, what does that explain?
So, I mean, you said one word, right? So, okay, I'll explain. So I think sometimes urgency for doing something can kill beautiful things. And today we live in that time where everything tends to be urgent, urgency for scale, urgency for profitability, urgency to make things big, urgency to have a big team. So I think sometimes that just kills a beautiful business that can be built over the period of time. So I think patience and building it organically at times is much more important than trying to win the race, which you don't even know what the race is all about.
Great. Second, a book or a movie that changed how you think.
Uh, yeah, I think there are many books or movies, but one of the early ones that I liked was Zero to One. I think that's a great book to see and kind of learn from. Yeah, I think that would be it.
Great. A place you go when your mind needs a reset.
Well, I think I've answered that, right? So it's going to a
You can
wildlife
go later,
safari.
but is there a particular place that comes to your mind where you've had the most beautiful memory?
Yeah, I think some really good safaris we have in India. Ranthambore is one, Kabini is the other, Tadoba is few. So I love going to safaris. So, you take me in the wild, I'm happy.
All right, cool. Three words that describe your leadership mantra today.
Patience, outcome driven, and collaboration. I think those are the few things. Yeah.
Great. Last question. What's the one thing you're unapologetic about now?
Taking risk. I think very important for any entrepreneur to build anything in this world. So taking risk, but maybe calculating them to the extent that you can is important.
Okay, great. Well, we've come towards the end. We've had a fantastic time listening, recording, making mental notes, and I'm sure all the viewers are going to have a fantastic time learning your entrepreneurial style and what it really means to build businesses with co founders. And there are so many other nuggets of wisdom that they can learn from. I hope you
Thank you
had
so
fun.
much. Yeah, yeah, great. Thank you. You were great, Ekta. Thank you so much.
All right, Ray. Today's conversation reminded me that the strongest leaders aren't the loudest ones. They are the ones who can build with clarity, lead with empathy, and still stay curious enough to reinvent themselves. Gaurav is a serial entrepreneur, co founder, and a CEO, a culture builder. He showed us that performance isn't a race, it's a rhythm. And leadership isn't hierarchy, it's alignment. So if you're someone who's building a career, a company, or even just your inner world, I hope this episode gives you permission to pause, breathe, think differently, and then go after your goals with full intention. Thank you for listening to Unapologetic Me, and as always, stay bold, stay curious, and stay beautifully, fiercely, unapologetically you.
Thank you.